Is that better? Because I really have you. Sound now? Hmm. Well, my sound is on. Let's see. Oh, you do have sound now? Oh, thank God. It's like, what else could go wrong? All right. Well, I guess I got something figured out for once. Anyway, so hopefully we can at least talk for the next hour and get some things covered. And hopefully tomorrow will be a much better day because I really have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. And it's kind of funny because when I look back on some of the shows I've been on, I've always had a producer. I've never done any of the technology myself. I kind of jumped in through it. I have the whole setup. I have the Roadcast wireless, everything you can imagine. If you could see around me, there's probably 100 wires attached. So literally anything could go wrong. And so today it has. But I do want to talk to you guys about there's so much to cover. And what you guys didn't hear earlier is obviously I'm off to a really rough start. I've been up since 5 a.m. working on these technical things. Everything last night was like perfectly together, everything was working fine. But it's really hard to test a live stream because without going live. So when I was doing my recordings, everything was fine. And again, I'm just, I wish I had a producer here at my home office, but that's not going to happen, especially since I live out in the middle of nowhere. So I'm just glad you guys are here with me because obviously we have a ton of things to talk about. I absolutely did not plan to have all of these things to talk about today. I had nothing to do with Trump's assassination attempt, just to get some good content. But either way, what a crazy day. I probably received 200 messages over the weekend. There's so much to talk about. I'm going to try to add some photos and try to add some videos. I'm not confident that's going to happen, but I'm going to try. And if I don't get it done today, we will get it done tomorrow or another time. Most of these videos and photos, if not all of them, are on my Facebook page either way. But one of the things, though, that I wanted to cover going into a new show, there a lot of housekeeping. I'm going to have technical issues. This is not going to be a professional show. It is me, talking, covering some points. I want it to be very listener interactive. I want all of you to have a say. I want people to call in. I want people to come in through the video link. I am far more interested in what all of you have to say than what any professional has to say because, we are the people that matters. And while I will have some professionals on to talk about issues maybe I don't know about or people we might have questions of, for the most part, it's going to be us. And that's how I've always wanted it. I've always wanted a show that's going to be very listener interactive. So that's what we're going to work toward. So if anybody's interested in coming on, feel free to message me. You guys all know how to get a hold of me. You can email me at tabitha@tabithahassell.com, and I will be happy to have you guys join me as a guest. We're going to do some 5-10 minute spots because I want to know what you think. We're the people, we're the ones that matter. We are the majority. Democrats want to tell us that we're the minority. They want to tell us that we don't matter because that we are the minority. And it's really unfortunate how many people watch television news and they actually believe that we are the minority, but we're not. We are the majority. And that's what I want to make sure I always reiterate to everyone. We have all of the power. We don't use the power. We become too complacent because we're busy. We work. We have things going on. Well, I'm one of those people. We're so busy, but we have to do more. We have to step up to the plate and we have to get things done. And we have to remember that we're the majority. And when they try to shut us down, we have to say, no, we're not going to be shut down. We are going to show our power in full force. That doesn't mean violence. Obviously, we don't ever want to condone any type of violence, but we have to start showing them that we know our place. Because if we all united like we did in 2016, If we all united, we would show exactly how powerful we are. So I hope that we're all ready to step up to the plate. I know I am ready to step up to the plate. Whether my technology follows me is a whole different story. So, a couple of things I'm going to be doing with the show is on Fridays, Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. That might change. Who knows? We'll see how things go. The show will continue to evolve, both with technology, guests, and so on. There's a lot to evolve from because we are starting at pretty much nothing. And then on Fridays, I don't know how many of you know Joe Fresta. Fresta family from the Pasta House. Joe's been on 590. He is the Facebook food critic. He does a lot of different things. So on Fridays, I'm going to be doing a show from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. 1 extra hour on Fridays because that's a little bit of an easier day to play around with. And Joe's going to be joining me for a segment on Friday. And as crazy as it sounds, we're going to talk about dating in politics. What do you think about that? It's going to be a really awkward subject for me, as everything is on a show right now, because I took a year hiatus, so I'm a little rusty on everything, as you'll probably be able to tell. But Joe and I we're gonna talk about dating in modern times, particularly in and around the St. Louis area, but that applies to any area. So hopefully he will be joining me. If I can figure out how to send him a link, he might join me today. I don't know. I'm still learning. It is definitely going to be a learning process. So hopefully you guys will all hang in there with me. But obviously, first off, I want to talk about what's most important. And as we know, our beloved president, I'm not saying former president, our beloved president, they attempted to assassinate him. I don't think that surprises any of us. Obviously, I don't know how many of you were listen to the Jamie Ullman show, who I missed, by the way, and hopefully will join us, and hopefully he and I can interact in some way. I know he's got another show in the works. So something we talked about, and I think a lot of us conservatives talk about often, is I think we is a better term. We know they are never going to let him run. They are never going to let him run, but they failed. They attempted to assassinate him. They, not Democrats. Democrats are as much of a pawn as we are. They, being the powers that be, the folks in the shadows, the folks that really run this country. I'm not talking about Obama either. Obama was groomed by these folks. Who are they? We'll leave that for another day. But those folks, we know they will never allow Trump to run. We know they will never allow him to win. And I think most of us have been waiting for something to happen. And, I was a guest there on the Jamie Ullman show on Mondays for a little while. And that's something that he and I talked about. What are they going to do? What's going to happen between now and November? Because something is going to happen. Well, that something just happened. And they missed. And you cannot convince me that this wasn't some type of preconceived plan. You cannot convince me. And I think a lot of you may feel the same way. And so I want to kind of break it down. I'm going to try to play some videos and add some photos. Whether that's going to happen today, I don't know, but I'm going to try. But there's some things that we have to think about. Here we have a shooter, somebody who was already on allegedly the radar of the FBI. Here we have Trump doing a rally in Pennsylvania near this guy's home. They allegedly were watching him. I guess they weren't watching him all that well. What I want to know, and I think we all want to know, how did so many things come into place for this guy, and I'm not even going to say his name, for this guy to take those shots? How did it all line up? Think about it. If you've ever been to a Trump rally, I have been, there are Secret Service everywhere. They are everywhere. And I know a lot of people want to blame and they say, well, he didn't have enough budget, he didn't have enough Secret Service, but I don't believe that's true. Because from what I heard, out in the grassy knoll, the grassy area where this guy came to this building, where he climbed up the ladder, where he went up onto the roof, There were allegedly over 20 Secret Service agents in that area walking around once they were alerted. So they were there. Where were they? Why didn't they see him? We have this guy, I mean, carrying a rifle, climbing up a building. You and I both know. I mean, we all know Secret Service, they're everywhere. Secret Service would have been on top of that building. If there's a line of sight, they would be on top of that building. I don't know if I can do it. I'm going to do my best to add a photo. Whether that's going to happen, I don't know, but we will see. Let's see. If I add this video, I want everyone to see how this out, because, okay, think about this. The shooter made it to the roof with a full rifle kit. More than 2 witnesses saw him. They were telling authorities, they were yelling, they were pointing, they were carrying on. They were all saying, look, there's a shooter on the roof. And what happened? Absolutely nothing happened. Okay, well, that didn't work. And so they were attempting to tell police. They said, oh, the police didn't say anything. Then we find out later what? A police officer actually climbed up the ladder and interacted with the shooter and did absolutely nothing. Did he report it to anyone? We don't know. He saw him. He came into contact with him. He allegedly spoke to him. What in the world is going on? I don't understand it. How did this guy get there with a rifle bag through a crowd of people, up onto the ladder, up onto the roof? He didn't, you could say he is or is not a good marksman. He came, what, centimeters, millimeters? Well, he grazed President Trump's ear. I mean, that's pretty darn close. And I don't see how anyone could say that that wasn't a good shot, because that was a good shot. Okay, so he was acting suspiciously near the event. Authorities announced over the radio to keep an eye on him, okay? This message was passed on to Secret Service. Keep an eye on this guy. He looks really suspicious. Who was keeping an eye on him? No one. No one. Has that ever happened? No, that's never happened. So they have a sniper spotter team on top of the roof. We saw them, 2 guys up on top of the roof, seemingly very ready. Okay, Kathy says that that's been debunked. The police officer did not retreat. He fell. Okay, well, either way, there's still no excuse for what happened, regardless. So we have these 2 sniper spotters. We can see in the video, if you guys have seen the video, I can't figure out how to pull it up here. I will figure all that out later. But we saw from the video the 2 snipers. One has the gun, well, they both do. The other one's a spotter. They see him. You can see him in the video, see the shooter. And the hesitation that he took while he repositioned a little bit, 42 seconds. And guess what? That allowed this guy to get off several rounds, barely missing President Trump, barely. And then, unfortunately, killing someone in the rally, at the rally, injuring 2 other people critically. I mean, it's crazy. I don't understand how this failure happened unless it was planned. So the Secret Service, they decided to keep Trump on stage for another couple minutes? They should have grabbed him. They should have taken him. They should have immediately left. He should have never had time to raise up his arm. And we all saw it on camera. I mean, he was not completely shielded. So there was absolutely room. There was absolutely room for him to be taken out of there a little bit quicker. At least that's my opinion. You guys might not agree with me. What I don't understand, again, why did the Secret Service, why weren't they on that roof? Why weren't they stationed all over? Any point of sight within President Trump, they should have been. So I just don't get it. I will never believe that this guy came out of nowhere. A 20-year-old Pennsylvania resident came out of nowhere, never heard of him before, belonged to some kind of crazy group. And it doesn't make sense. Like Rob says here on the comment line, why the Secret Service didn't have men posted at every high point around. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. And the only thing I can think, I mean, at some point, did someone think that he was part of their group? Was he part of Secret Service? What did they think? I don't get it. And of course, we're going to hear all kinds of things. We're going to hear that he was a Republican. We're going to hear that he was a Trump supporter. I'm already hearing these things. I just don't get it. And I really want to know how the failure happened. But either way, they did fail. So now we have to ask ourselves, what happens next? What happens next? Because they failed. I don't think they expected to fail, but they did fail. So where do we go from here? How do they now keep him off the ballot? How do they keep him out of the election? We have the RNC convention going on, this week. Obviously, that's where they choose. Now, of course, the majority of delegates are bound to Trump already. They can change their minds, but we're moving forward. And I don't think it's any coincidence that this assassination attempt happened the day before, the C convention. I don't think that was any coincidence at all. And Kim, she says, the Secret Service director needs to resign immediately. That I think we need a true investigation into what potentially happened here. Will that happen? No, probably not. Because who's going to investigate? All the people at the top tiers of pretty much every government agency, they're probably in on it. As conspiracy tinfoil hat as that may sound, they're probably all in on it. And it really bothers me. It really worries me because I keep thinking now that was plan A. Plan A failed. So what's plan B? What's plan C? Are they going to start a war? Are they going to, I don't see them taking another assassination attempt. I think they really thought they had that one in the bag. And it just happened to be, by the way, if you guys really watched that video, and I'm sure you did, Trump turned his head a little bit. Had he not turned his head at that split second to look at the graphic on his screen, they would have nailed him. And I mean, I think that now that we see what they're with, I don't know. I don't want to see violence. I don't want to see any of our kids end up in a wartime situation. But where do we go from here? And of course, we have all these Democrats and different pundits coming out. I screenshot some of these things. We have a guy named, Tom Caribou. This guy, we need to light up this guy's page. He owns a company called Explorer Charters Cruise Line. This guy said, damn, bad shot. Would have done the world a service. And then people are commenting and agreeing with him. It really just absolutely destroys me that there are people in this world who would like to see President Trump shot. As much as I am not a fan of Biden, guess what? I don't want to see him shot. I don't want to see anything happen to him. So I don't get it. And all these memes, I'm looking through some now. It is absolutely insane. And so I don't know what you guys were thinking. If I knew how to work the system a little bit better, I'd have some of you come on and talk to me. But in the meantime, let's see, Brad, Trump run his election on hate and name calling. So now your surprise has happened. We all need to stop and come together. You call yourself patriots. No, we are all Americans. Well, you know what, Brad? We are absolutely all Americans, but I think you're absolutely wrong to say Trump ran his election on hate. I mean, come on. What are we hearing from Democrats? What did Biden say? Put Trump in the bullseye. Wasn't that his comment? How many times have Maxine Waters come out and called for violence? How many times has Nancy Pelosi called for violence against us? We, the conservatives, we are the enemy of the state. We are the enemy of the state. And we need to wake up and realize that. And we're no different than a third world country. I've said that 1,000 times, and it's so true. We are no different than a third world country. We see what happens in these other countries. Myanmar, is an example from not long ago, when the people come together and they attempt to elect a person that represents them, guess what happens? That person is eliminated. It happens all the time, happens in all different countries. That person is eliminated one way or the other. They're either thrown in jail, they're assassinated, they disappear. All kinds of things have happened. We've had civil unrest all across the world over these exact same situations. So don't think it cannot happen here, because it absolutely can happen here. We think we go out and vote and we have a say, but we really have no say. These elections are chosen for us, and the same goes for the DNC, the RNC. Those are privately owned organizations. They are not part of the government. They absolutely do not. They do not have to adhere to any of their own bylaws. And we know that. And I know I've said this, if you know me, if you've heard me on any show, I've said it 1,000 times, that they have bylaws. They don't abide by them. Look at 2008, I believe it was. Bernie Sanders won the primary. We know that. It went to court. His supporters took them to court. He won the primary, but guess what? The DNC, they chose Hillary Clinton because they can choose anyone they want. It doesn't matter about votes. It doesn't matter about delegates. None of that matters. They can choose anyone they want. And, I don't believe for 1 minute that the RNC wants Donald Trump to be our president. I will never believe that, because the RNC, they are establishment. They are part of the they that I'm always talking about. The they. Outside of the Freedom Caucus, our Congress. They're not on our side. Those people don't support us. They don't represent us. Those people don't care about us or anything we do or anything we say. And it's unfortunate, because we really don't have anyone in our corner. And I will never believe that there's, outside again of the Freedom Caucus, that any of those members in Congress are there to do anything for us. We have to do it for ourselves. And it's going to be a long, hard battle. It's going to be a really long, hard battle. And November's coming up right around the corner. So I think there's going to be a lot that happens between now and then. I don't know what. I would love to know what you guys think, because I don't know. It's just, I think we all need to be prepared. If those of you who know me personally, I left St. Louis City. I moved out to the country. Why? Because I want to be prepared. I think we all need to be. I think if we don't, I'm going to have some segments on this, by the way. Save your seeds, save your vegetable seeds, save your fruit seeds, grow some berries, grow some nut trees. Make sure wherever you live, whether you're in the city, whether you're in the country, I hope that you have a plan of action. I hope that you have a way to grow food for yourself and for your family. And I know people are going to say, oh, that's fear mongering, but it really may come to that. We really may have to deal with that. I don't know what's going to happen, but I know that people are on edge right now. Had that been a successful attempt, had this guy actually shot and killed Trump, where would we be today? I think we'd be fighting in the streets. I think some people would be fighting in the streets. I do think we would have violence, and that goes to show how close we are. He missed. Thank God he missed. But had he hit him, our lives would be very different today, because there are already people talking about what they are going to do. Again, violence is not the answer, but we have to be prepared. That is the answer. You don't have to move. You don't have to have a lot of land, but you do need to start getting things ready. Have some shovels, make sure you have some seeds saved. Make sure that you have water put away. There's so many different ways to prepare. And that's something we're going to be talking about as we move along. And, people think, well, it's never going to get that bad. That's never going to happen. It will happen. It may not be today, but we are at some point going to get that far. So that's something we'll definitely be talking about. And let's see here. Trying to read some of the comments here. This is all new to me, so I apologize if I'm not getting to everyone. Nicole, love this conversation on homesteading. We are being poisoned through food in the USA. So no matter what the elections look like, crowning and preserving your own whole foods is extremely important. My little community here in Quincy, Illinois, barters. I think bartering is a great idea. Now, today, since I've had so many technical issues, I'm kind of free-forming it. I don't have notes. I don't have anything to go on. I didn't expect things to work after all that. But as we move forward, I'm going to break things down into segments. And I would love to hear your suggestions if you have suggestions on segments, because again, I want this show to be very user interactive. I want you to be my guest. I want you to bring up the topics. I think I'm so tired of hearing shows where they only want to talk about the same things that Fox News is talking about. I don't want to talk about those things, maybe some of those things, but I want to talk about the issues that really matter most to us, the people, because we are really the ones that matters. Congress, I don't care what those folks are doing. Whatever they're doing, it's to go against us. But there's the immigration, Kathy, you're absolutely right. Immigration is definitely something we need to talk about. Canned goods, batteries, flashlights. I'm going to get a list together of things that people really need to have. And homesteading is going to be big on my mind. We're definitely going to be doing a homesteading segment. We're going to be talking about preparation. I'm not really a big prepper. A lot of people probably think I am, but I am prepared, but I'm not a big prepper. Per se, I don't do a lot of the things remember Colonel Joe Adams. I certainly hope he'll join us, some mornings and talk, because that man is prepared. He knows what's going on. And Jenna, we are preparing to leave the country. It's not safe here anymore. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic. It seems so drastic, but almost necessary anymore. Jenna, I actually am with you on that. I am with you on that. Because I think we have to realize that we always think we're here in the United States, we will never have to leave our home. The United States is the most free country in the world, right? Well, no, it's not. It's not the most free country in the world. It absolutely is not. We have state-ran media. If you turn your television on, nothing but propaganda. Most of our social media platforms, I'll probably get banned today. Most of our social media platform, state-ran propaganda. Everything's run by the government. We're probably pretty close to where China is to some degree. And, we think that we're not, but we are, and people need to wake up. I'm not going to go on about Fox National right now. I could, but yeah, Jenna, as Kevin said, where are you going to go? Because I would really like to know. Right now, where is there to go? I know people who are moving to Mexico because it's very inexpensive to live, and there are areas of Mexico that are very safe. I don't see myself going to Mexico. I thought about Italy, but look, France, Europe in general is just, unfortunately, they have fallen under the reign of the socialist dictator. So that makes things a little bit more difficult. I don't know where there is to go, but I wouldn't put it out of the question. I absolutely think everyone should have a passport. I think everyone should have a plan. I think that you should consider that someday you and your family may have to move away from the United States, because think about this. This country is becoming more progressive all the time. And you might want to say, well, I can live with that. Can you live with that? I don't think you can, because what they want to do here in our country, they want us all to live under Marxism, under socialism. If any of you remember Kasia Staki, she was a guest on Uncancel This a couple times. Hopefully she will be Here again, she is, born and raised in Poland. She lived there during communist times. We're not far from that here. People think we are. We're not far from that here. We are very close to everything being dictated to us. Uh, think about it. We're being forced to eat food that's not real food. It's not real food. Most of it's not. As a matter of fact, I don't even think you can trust the farmer stands all the time. I went to a farmer stand the other day and I came home. I thought, oh, I'm so excited. I wanted to try, some different things from different farms. No, tasted just like Walmart food. You don't know who you're trusting. If you don't go to the farm and buy it or to a farmer's market you trust, you don't know what you're getting. And I've been doing a lot of experiments, feeding different things, putting it outside, seeing what animals will eat, what they won't eat. Frankenfood. And you go into the grocery store and it all looks the same. All those little green peppers look so perfect and pretty. That's not real food. I don't know how many of you saw my video where I had the drumstick and I put it outside and melted it. And it's so funny because I had hundreds of comments of people telling me, oh, well, that's okay. It has emulsifiers. It has corn syrup. It has all these different things in it. That's why it didn't melt. That was exactly my point. It's not ice cream. And of course, Drumstick doesn't claim that it is ice cream, but it's not real food. I mean, anyways, I could go on about that and I probably will another day. But think about the things that are going on in this country, the freedoms that they have taken away. One by one, they have taken them away. And Amy says, trust the Amish. In the area that I'm in, there are a lot of Amish and a lot of Mennonite. And I haven't been to all of their stores yet, but I've noticed that the ones I have been in, they actually have a lot of commercial products that they've bought and are selling. So I'm going to explore that a little bit better. But I absolutely do think that if we lived like the Amish outside of the issues we know about, the incest and things, I wouldn't mind being Amish or living in an Amish community, but they have a little too much going on for me. But we need to get back to the basics. And that's really what it's about. It's about getting back to the basics. Simple life, simple foods, simple everything in life. I think that we're all too complicated and we have too much complication going on in our lives. And I don't know what's going to happen here, in our country. I love this country. I think all of you love this country. We wouldn't be here talking about it if we didn't. But I think that this country is moving in a direction I don't know that we can ever come back from. Even if Trump is elected, I don't see that happening. I don't see it happening. But even if he is elected, I think we're too far gone. Because 4 years later, he'll be out. Who's going to be in? Newsom? Gavin Newsom? Probably. I wouldn't be surprised if Gavin Newsom's not in November. So Patty says 85,000 unaccompanied children that have crossed the border have gone missing. Our government sent 300 to the address. I can't see all the message. And of course, here in my own town, I moved way out here to Vandalia, Illinois to escape craziness. Well, guess what? We have illegals right here in my town, right here in my town. I see them walking up and down the street. Are they good people? Are they bad people? The fact is we don't know. Some of them are probably wonderful people. Some are probably here to make this country better. Some of them are probably here to live a better life and to feed their families. But the thing is, we don't know. We do not know. Some of them could be terrorists, probably are terrorists. And I had an incident here at my own house just a couple days ago where I was out in the sunroom in the back of the house and I heard a man cough. And I knew no one was around. My brother here at the property lives out in the log cabin out back. So I heard this man cough and I asked my brother, I'm like, was that you? Are you up here on the patio? Did you cough? And he texts me back, no, it wasn't me. And so he walks up, looks around, doesn't see anyone. Literally 4 minutes later, 5 minutes later, the local police pull in and I turned everything off and went to bed because it freaked me out. And they went back and they asked him, I don't know why they went to the cabin and not here to the main house, but they went back and, asked him about gunfire. I'm like, well, there's definitely no gunshots. Long story, which I posted about it on my Facebook account, but he messaged me and said, hey, the police just left. And I'm like, well, how weird is that? That somebody's outside coughing. And then 4 or 5 minutes later, the police show up talking about gunshots that never happened. And I called the officer back because I didn't have the opportunity to speak to him. And what he told me is that, well, we've been watching this area because there has been suspicious activity going on the other side of your property. We have a creek and then there's another acre or so on the other side. And I'm thinking, okay, what exactly is going on? And then they tell me that a neighbor saw somebody back there with a flashlight and a gun. And then they explained to me how there are illegals in my city that are Governor Pritzker, because of course I moved to Illinois. There are more patriots, by the way, in Illinois than there are in Missouri, believe it or not. But the Governor Pritzker, what he's done is he's taken illegals from the city of Chicago and he's busing them to rural areas all across the state of Illinois. And guess what? It's happening in Missouri too. It is not just Illinois, it's happening in Missouri also. Every single town, I don't care if you're a rural town, if you're not, you have illegals in your city. And a lot of times they are living homelessly. We don't know who these people are. We have no idea who they are. And unaccompanied children missing, of course they're missing. Now, some of those unaccompanied children ended up with family members who are also illegal, so they're not reporting them. But a lot of them, they're being trafficked. What was the FBI last week? Rescued 200 children. I mean, we have a real problem in this country, and it's been happening for so long. Gosh, I had a show called Tabs on Tap back on 1380, back in I think 2014. Something along 15 through those years. And back then, I remember talking about 50,000 unaccompanied minors entered our country. And I believe back then it was every month. So think about how many kids are coming in this country unaccompanied from as small as a year old, infants probably, but as small as a 2 years old, 1 year old. Where are they going? Where are they ending up? I don't know. And what's going to happen? How's it going to change? And people have told me, and I don't know if you guys remember on one of my old shows, we talked about the federal only ballot. Don't think these people aren't going to be voting in our elections, because they absolutely will be voting in our elections. They will. There is a loophole in some states. It's exactly what happened in Arizona, the federal only ballot. A federal only ballot, it allows illegals to vote in a presidential election. And now there is a stipulant that kind of says, well, if it comes down to the illegals votes deciding who wins, then they're not supposed to count. They're supposed to take those out. But they don't take them out. Of course they don't. And now more states are adopting it. Now we have issues where illegals are going to be voting in all of our elections. As a matter of fact, the Democrats are working on a bill right now, as we speak, to allow illegals to vote in local elections. Now, that hasn't happened before, local elections. And we know they will. We know they'll get away with it. It's definitely going to happen. What are we going to do? I don't know. That's why we need a strong president like Trump. Look what he did. I don't have to tell you guys. Cut down illegal border crossings by 92%. Paid $367 billion to put up a wall, and then Joe Biden comes in and starts taking the wall down. Still had to pay the contractors regardless. We still had to pay that bill. But guess what? No wall. It's not by accident. They want these people to come into this country. They want them to cast their vote. They have resettlement coordinators that meet with them as soon as they come in, and they say, hey, illegal, if you vote for a Republican, which technically these people are Republicans, most of them are actually on our side. They just don't realize it. Most of them are Christian. Most of them are here, to help their families, better their lives. They would be one of us, but we can't get to them first. That's the problem. The Democrats get to them first. And they explain to them that, hey, if you don't vote Democrat, you're going to have a Republican president and he's going to deport you. And so, of course, they vote Democrats. Of course they do. And it's just a shame. I don't know what the answer is. And, I know everyone's saying, yes, it's done on purpose. It absolutely is done on purpose. And how do we do it? Some people mention seceding. We can't secede. I mean, Texas, they've talked about secession. That'll never happen because as you remember, Joe Biden very clearly warning Americans that he has hellfire missiles. And if you attempt any type of secession, if you attempt to even take over one single block of your own community, that he will come at you with hellfire missiles. You can look it up. It happened. It's what it says. Mary says, where is the safe and best place to donate a little to the Trump campaign? Mary, I don't know. I'm going to look that up. I know that there is a text that you can donate to. Patty, how will Trump deport when countries say they refuse to take them back? That's happening with Venezuela. And it's unfortunate because Venezuelans who have illegally entered our country, guess what they're doing? They're forming gangs, and very organized gangs, and they are targeting wealthy people in cities all across the country. And guess what? Venezuela says, well, we don't want them back. They opened their prisons. They allowed and probably assisted these people to come to our country because, of course, they don't want them. We'll let anybody in, won't we? And now they're forming gangs. Now they're robbing people. And some of these Venezuelan gangs have taken in millions of dollars. And it does worry me. I just had a neighbor that I talked to the other day. I have an elderly couple that lives next door, and I was talking to them about the illegals here in our country. They're terrified, and they're not the only ones. They told me, hey, we are closing our garage door. We are looking in the garage door, make sure nobody's in there when we close it. We are locking our doors up. We're going to bed earlier. We're turning the lights off. People shouldn't have to live like that in this country. They should not have to live like that in this country. And I believe it was Todd said, who's going to be the VP? Boy, that's a tough one, isn't it? Who's going to be Trump's VP? I don't think Trump will ever get to the point of having a VP, quite personally, but I don't know. I really don't know. You know what? There's so many people I like. I don't even have an answer for that. I'm more curious who you guys think. I personally like Tim Scott. I think that he needs an African American as a VP, and I think it needs to be a man because we definitely do need the Black vote. We can't act like we don't because we do. I think Trump already has the female vote. Some people say, oh, well, women don't like Trump. That's absolutely not true. Most Republican women love Trump. I think he's got to win over, and I think it's become easier now to win over the Black vote than what it was in the last election. I think the Black community is waking up because they're seeing these illegals come in, and guess what? They know these illegals are coming in to replace them. There is no question about it. As a matter of fact, if you really go out and look, you will see some folks in the Black community speaking out and saying, hey, these illegals are moving into our community. They're moving into our neighborhood, and they're taking over. They're taking our homes. They're taking over our businesses. They're getting pushed out. They're becoming even more marginalized. And I think a lot of them are realizing that if they don't make change, if they don't start voting with us, Democrats don't care about them. They're as much of a pawn, as we are. And Todd says, I think Trump's biggest game will be in the Black vote. I absolutely agree. I think he has to choose an African-American running mate. I don't know who it will be. I like Tim Scott. I like Ben Carson. I like a lot of them. I don't know if they'll be as quiet as Kamala Harris has been, and that's the thing with Joe Biden. I think we're going to see a lot of things happen with the DNC convention. I believe that is in August. I had the dates. It's in August. And think about this. A lot of people think, well, that we're stuck with Biden. Let me stop for a second. Nicole, Trump National Committee, P.O. Box 8919, Topeka, Kansas, 666 08. Monica with his official website, donaldtrump.com, if you do want to donate. I think he probably needs the donations right now, as will our VP. But anyway, with Joe Biden, I mean, it's no coincidence, absolutely no coincidence, that all of a sudden Democrats are calling out the DNC for choosing him and for allowing him to potentially run again. It's no coincidence. I have no doubt in my mind that the DNC set up that debate with Biden and Trump because they want Biden out. They do not want Harris. They do not want Kamala Harris. And people say, well, they can't get around Kamala. Yes, they can. They can get around Harris. People say, well, the donation, the campaign money, what is it, 90 something million that somebody's holding back, some different major companies. They think, oh, that has to go to Harris. It does not have to go to Harris. The DNC is a private organization. They can do anything they want to do, and they will do anything they want to do. And even though there are, gosh, I don't know if I can recall the number now, bound delegates to Biden, he does have a lot of bound delegates, not as many as the Republicans have. But just because you're bound to Biden as the nominee, that doesn't mean they have to choose Biden. With the terms within good conscience, all they have to do is show up to the convention and cast their vote for someone else. And speaking of, people say, well, who will it be? If it's not Harris, who will it be? It can be anyone. There is no federal timeline on somebody throwing their name into the ring. Today, Newsom could say, hey, I'm going to be on the ballot. He could say it on October 30th. There is no deadline. There's no deadline. The only thing that they have to do is go through some loopholes, get some maybe signatures in different states, or some states that require certain signatures if you're going to be added onto the ballot. That's it. So I really do think we're going to see a new name on the ballot. I don't think it's going to be Biden. I could be wrong. I think it's going to be someone else. Who that will be, I don't know. If I had to guess, I would say Newsom. But I think Harris is out. I think the DNC will give the campaign money to whoever the next person is. I know people say it can't happen, but I absolutely do. Monica says, I hear the chatter to replace Biden has ended since the attempted Trump assassination has taken over. Well, that's probably true, because right now everyone's talking about what happened to President Trump, obviously, but and we'll continue to talk about it. But in a couple days, the American people, we are very fickle. And so while it's a big topic today, give it a couple days and we'll be on to something else. But it is a typical story of what they do is they'll bring in a different topic, of course, with intent, and that'll change the news cycle. But I don't think that they attempted to assassinate Trump to change the news cycle or to keep Biden. I really think they did it just to get Trump out of the way. I still think that the powers that be do not want Biden to run. I think that they're counting on his own party calling him out and giving them no option to let him run. I think the world has woken up to who Biden is and what Biden's doing. So we'll see. Nicole says, so true. A friend of mine in college worked very hard to get her citizenship and knew way more than I did about the history of our country. And there's no question that some of our immigrants that come here, the ones who want to be here, the ones who want to be Americans, the ones who are productive in our society, they absolutely do know more than many of us Americans do. And I wish I could pull some photos up. I'm going to get a little bit better about that at some point. But I wanted to go back to the shooter. And again, I'm not saying his name because I'm not going to give this guy credit. But this is a message someone sent to me, and I'm curious what you guys think about it. Someone said they were able to get a little bit of information before it was scrubbed. That the guy, he's a registered Republican, was a fan of Trump, became obsessed with an ultra-fringe, hyper-violent, libertarian YouTube channel. That's the shirt that he was wearing that day. They said likely their constant stream of anarcho-capitalist BS and crazier than QAnon conspiracy theories radicalized this guy who is obsessed with anime, Never seen anything good about Anime, but also really hates gays. So I'm assuming he's autistic and in the closet. Probably not. Radical libertarian to the point. He long departed the libertarian philosophy and was just basically a violent sociopath. So here's the thing. Isn't that the typical story that they come out with when somebody's a shooter or somebody attempts to assassinate someone? Who was it? I can't remember who it was right now. But there was a guy a while back living in a van somewhere down on the coast. And I can't remember who he attempted to assassinate or did assassinate. But it was a Democrat. And the next thing we know, oh, he's a Democrat. He's got Democrat stickers all over his van. When you see these types of things and you can see that it's a setup, it's just so obvious. They don't even care anymore that we know. They don't even care because they feel like they have the upper hand over us. Because guess what? When we talk about the truth, what happens? They shut us down. And that's probably I'm going to give myself probably a week before that happens to me, maybe a day. But that's exactly what they do. They control the narrative. They shut us down. And Mary says his dad's a libertarian. Nothing wrong with being a libertarian. But what would cause this person to do this? A 20-year-old. And, I don't know if you guys saw the video or heard the rumors about him possibly being in a BlackRock commercial. I shared the BlackRock commercial on my personal Facebook page. And I took a screenshot of it, and it does look like him. Is it a coincidence? I don't know. Todd says he's not giving this kid a free pass, but demonic attack and voices is a real thing. Also true. I'm not sure I'm chalking this one up to the devil, but I definitely do think there's more to the story. There has to be more to the story. And I think as the days unfold, and I think that things are going to unravel and we're going to learn more. And I think they're going to try to cover for themselves, and they're going to try to talk about how, oh, they were short-staffed and all of this other stuff was going on and how they just had confusion. But none of those, we can't listen to any of those excuses. I wish I could share the photo with you now. I don't think I can. I would like to try, and I will get better at this as time goes. But there's a photo of the shooter. You've probably seen it, looking at him from the side at the rally as he's climbing up, going into the building. You can see the shirt that he has on. You can see the grass behind him. How is it that someone could get a photo of this guy before he even went up to the roof, as he's going up to the roof, and he wasn't stopped? I don't understand it. If I would have been there, it's easy for me to say now, I would have jumped on this guy because I would have been like, okay, why are you carrying? What are you doing? I don't understand how police didn't catch on. If you've seen the video of the two guys that gave the interview with the BBC, they talk about how, well, we told the police, we were pointing at him, we were looking at him. I had hoped to show you that video today. And they said, oh, the police just were like, nah, they just didn't seem to notice. At no point did anyone call up to the Secret Service and say, hey, get Trump off the stage. Get Trump off the stage. He could be under a threat, even though they knew he was a threat. So John says, what about the video you posted yesterday with him saying you got the wrong guy? John, there's a video that I posted yesterday when people first said the name of the shooter. They had posted photos of at what we thought at the time was the same person. It turned out to be two different people. So there was a guy who turned out to be a troll. Why he claimed to be the shooter, I will never know. I will never know. And I hope that he regrets it. And I hope he gets paid a visit. But then he released a video that says, hey, this is me. This is my name, but you've got the wrong guy. And you can see that on my Facebook page. He's a troll. And I don't know if he has the same name. I highly doubt it. I don't know too much about the guy, but he is not the same person, unfortunately. But he did throw a little bit of a media frenzy, putting himself in there. So, Mary, parents are health professionals. Bongino said not enough Secret Service agents, and there were temp Homeland Security people working. It doesn't matter. I mean, if you're a temp as a Secret Service agent, you should know what you're doing. They don't just throw. I own a security company. The Secret Service is not calling me and say, "Hey, do you want to temp with us today?" No, those people know what they're doing. I know. I've done security for big events. We did the world premiere for the other guys. We had 4,000 people in attendance, different than, of course, the Trump rally. But we knew what we had to do to protect the folks that were there. And you have a clear plan of action. You make sure everything's covered, every door, every entrance, every so many feet. You're watching people, what's going on. And I'm just a small security company. This is the Secret Service we're talking about. And, and they were protecting someone like Donald Trump, who they know is definitely has a target on his head, considering Joe Biden actually said to put him in the bullseye. So he said the temps are trained, just not enough Secret Service. It doesn't matter. Even if you're a police officer, if you're a security guard and you've had training, to cover all the bases. And I really personally, I know that Trump asked for more security, more Secret Service agents. I know he was turned down, and that's something that needs to be looked into. But I still don't think there's any excuse. I've seen videos of people saying, well, gosh, there was 20 something 23 Secret Service agents running around with their heads cut off around the field while this guy's up there shooting. I mean, maybe they're all temps. Maybe they didn't know what to do. But if so, then the Secret Service has not only failed Donald Trump, but they have failed all of us. Nicole, do we know what kind of gun was used? Do we know if the owners of that building allowed Secret Service to sit up there? There's no way I'd be on that roof and not notice that guy up there with my scope. I will never believe. I hate to say this because I have such respect for Secret Service and law enforcement of all types, but I find it very unusual that the sniper and the spotter on the barn did not see this guy. I find it extremely unusual because their entire job is to look around and they're already watching this guy. How did they not see him? And he was up there long enough getting into position to where there's actually a video of him getting into position. So somebody has enough time to take a video of this guy getting into position, videos of him climbing up the ladder, videos of him entering. Trust me, there's a lot of videos out there if you look for them of this guy. You cannot tell me that they could not have stopped this. Even the worst of the worst of the worst person in law enforcement would have been able to stop this guy. None of this makes any sense. None of it makes any sense. And Todd, I don't know if they use a drone, but as far as the gun, I believe it was an AR, I think 565, 560, something like that. I did see that. And had my technology worked out a little bit better, I had some notes on those things. But we will do that tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow I will have a little bit better of a hold on the technology, and I can share some videos and some photos of some different things. In the meantime, we're about done for today. If you think of anything you want to talk about, if you have an interest in coming on the show, I would love to have you because I want to know what everyone thinks. I'm going to be reading a lot of the comments. I'm going to be sending you guys video links to come on and join the show with me if you're interested. I'm going to have guests that you would like to see. I hope that we are extremely interactive. Todd says he thinks it was a 223 round. Thank you, Kim. We've had a lot of hiccups. And I just want to remind everyone again, this is going to be a casual show. It's going to be me talking to you. I'm going to break things down into segments. Today was a different kind of day for one with all the technical issues I was having. Plus, again, I want it to be relaxed. I don't know if I'm going to have any breaks yet or not. Maybe somewhere down the road if I start looking for sponsors or have different things going on. But more importantly, there are just things we want to talk about. And it's going to be an ever-evolving show. Things are going to continue to change. Every day things will change. And I hope that it changes. I hope that it changes by the vibe of all of you, because to me, that's what this is about. It's about we the people and how we the people feel. It's not just about me. It's about all of us collectively. And I don't think we have enough platforms where we can really talk about how we the people feel. And so that's extremely important to me. And if somebody wants to call in, and they disagree. Trust me, I am not against people who hate Trump. I'm really not. I know people who hate Trump. I don't expect everyone to agree. If we all agreed, we'd be pretty boring, wouldn't we? So I'm going to have a couple people call in who are Democrats, some who are liberals, people who, and trust me, I cannot get offended. So if you're one of those people, feel free to call in. Feel free to come in. I'll send you a video link. But I want to talk to liberals. I want to talk to people who have opposing opinions. I want to, I see it as a learning experience. I'm going to learn from guests. I'm going to learn from all of you. I hope you guys learn something from me as well. But I want it to be a very interactive, ever evolving experience. I don't want this to be your typical podcast. I'm not a news person. I'm just a person, just like the rest of you, who is really upset about the direction things are going in this country. But I'm going to be talking about other things too. I'm going to be talking about strange news, paranormal. We're going to be talking about life after death. We're going to be talking about addiction. I have a good friend who lost a daughter to addiction. And so that's something, we're going to be talking about.